Can you actually spot the difference in these two clips? The difference is fairly obvious, right? The first player is clearly just missing while being shaky and rushing shots, while the other player is calm and smooth, correct? Well, is that really all there is to it? Is it just about being smooth and taking more time to shoot? If the answer is as simple as that, why does it not work for us? What if instead of being calmer, we tried to introduce discipline into our aim? Now you might ask, what discipline actually means? In today's video, me and Loris, we will go over what aiming discipline is, what it consists of, and how you can practice it, and why it might help you improve your aiming skills and performance. Me and Loris are known as top aim trainer players and coaches, holding ton of notable scores on popular aim training scenarios, as well as winning many aim competitions. We both have experience working with tier 1 professional players such as Chronicle, Hero, or Avova.
And last, thank you to Cartoon and Minigod, my aim coaches.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, that helped me a lot, so thank you everyone.
In our opinion, working on aiming discipline is one of the most important habits to work on in the context of efficient and consistent aiming skills. Now you might ask, what even is aiming discipline? Aiming discipline essentially represents the ability to force deliberate and controlled aiming motions in coordination of your target reading. A lack of aiming discipline would represent situations where we are shooting as soon as we are able to react, or micro-adjust super quickly with no actual discipline to let ourselves initiate our micro-adjustment with proper form. Now let's take a look at the clip that was shown in the beginning of the video. While we were initially thinking of it as just being shaky and whiffing, we can observe the player is shooting as soon as he is able to react, which causes a spike in tension, resulting in poorly performed aiming motions due to him losing the target's position. In the context of Valorant, this discipline is ideally present in situations when targets are suddenly appearing on a screen, when they are suddenly changing direction, or simply when a micro-adjustment needs to be performed after a fast initial flick. And this is exactly what we can notice in the second clip that was shown at the start of the video. The differing factor between these two clips is that player A is now having a clear vision of the target's initial position and movement, which then results in a very poor and rushed aiming form, while player B, thanks to them initially processing the target's position before initiating their aiming movement, they are able to clearly read where their micro-corrections have to be performed. The way you respond to people appearing on your screen can actually affect how well you can apply your aiming fundamentals due to either increased or decreased degree of target reading. Have you ever experienced that despite having good looking micros or flicks in the aim trainer or in the range, they still did not look as good during in-game situations? If the answer is yes, then it's a perfect example of why you want to practice both your reflex habits and your raw reading habits. In a game like Valorant, you will often have to react out of reflex, with no actual information of the target beforehand, unlike during aim training sessions, where you often have 2 or more targets on your screen at all times. Hence why it's important to familiarize yourself with correct reflex aiming habits.
So reflex habits are basically about learning how to discipline our way of reacting to things appearing on our screen. The task on the display presents one target appearing in a limited time window, which means that if we don't perform our aiming motion fast enough, it will simply despawn. Most players will try to approach it in the most instinctive and natural way, which is as displayed, relying heavily on pure reaction time with no discipline involved. This means our aiming motions are not performed as consistently as they could with correct reflex aiming habits. Now let's take a look at what a more healthy approach to reflex looks like. The differing factor is that instead of relying on fast reactions alone, we are taking a brief moment to visually process where we have to perform our flick or micro correction. This does not mean that we are making our aiming slower. It's just that we are enforcing the idea of being disciplined with the way we react, which allows us to have clear vision of where our shots has to be connected. This allows us to increase consistency because we are reducing panic reactions while still maintaining proper flick technique or micro technique. This is how we can familiarize ourselves with reading before aiming in a reflex aiming environment. Let's say we miss our initial bullet despite applying proper reflex habits. We then will have to readjust and connect a second shot. In order to efficiently and consistently perform and connect our secondary shots on the target, we will need to once again read the target's movement or change of direction after the flick and have the ability to respond with a proper microform to connect our shot back on the target. A proper microform will consist of maintaining both a degree of smoothness and lower tension levels. Thanks to having lower tension, we are able to visually see the target better, which helps with our reading skills. Now, being equipped with the information, we are able to easily come up with the structure that could help us with developing more disciplined aim, which we usually refer to as calm aim. Instead of simply thinking of it as being calm, slow and smooth, having lower tension, we can actually envision it as usage of proper reflex habits and target reading skills, followed with proper micro-correction form, which evolves around managing smoothness, low tension, and once again, target reading habits.
If you want to practice these concepts and approaches, we highly recommend using these following aim training scenarios. Mini has already made great routines to practice those techniques for TacFPS games, which contains explanation and instructions in the document linked in the description. For Kovaaks, we have gathered similar scenarios and compiled them into a routine.